Morning, everybody, and welcome to our last week of virtual learning. Isn't that crazy to think about that we've already been doing this for, I think, 6 weeks already, and this is going to be our last week of instruction, and then next week will be our virtual field trips, and then it will be the end of the school year, which is just crazy to think about. You guys have done such a good job. We've reviewed a ton of stuff. So this week is really just going to be like an end of third grade review week. We're going to take some of the biggest skills that we've worked on throughout the year and just review them each day to make sure that you guys leave third grade ready to be super successful in fourth grade. So with that being said, today's focus is going to be on multiplication word problems. So our I can statement for today is, I can solve multiplication word problems. Now, before we do that, we're going to jump into some fluency. And this activity we actually haven't done in a while, and it will be a lesson later this week, so I want to make sure we have some time to practice it. We are going to review the distributive property. Now, when I say distributive property, who remembers what the distributive property tells us we can do? It has something to do with breaking apart into addends. Hopefully you're thinking the distributive property tells us we can break apart a larger factor into two smaller addends to make factors that are easier to multiply. So 16, for example, we may not know 16 times 5 in our head. So what we can do is break apart 16, and we know we always like to take our 10s and 5s out because those facts are easier to multiply. So I would write 10 plus 6 times 5. This is a good top opportunity. If you don't have a piece of paper in front of you, go grab one and we can do these together. Now, once I've broken it down like this, I can create my new equation, which would be blank times blank plus blank times blank. And then I just split it up. 10 times 5 plus 6 times 5. And this is just some mental math. I know 10 times 5, that's easy. That's 50 plus 6 times 5. I know that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And 50 plus 30 makes 80. So 16 times 5 equals 80. Let's try 2 more. Go ahead and wipe off. Your next one is 13 times 8. 13 times 8. Which factor should we break apart? The bigger factor, which would be 13, and we can break it into 10 and 3. So 10 plus 3 times 8 becomes 10 times 8 plus 3 times 8. Everybody knows 10 times 8 makes 80, plus 3 times 8, 16, 24. So then I need to add 80 plus 24. 0 plus 4 is 4. 8 plus 2 is 10. 104. 13 times 8 is 104. Now let's try our last one. Your last one is going to be 17 times 9. I definitely don't know how to do 17 times 9 in my head. So I'm going to break apart my 17 into 10 plus 7 times 9. That's going to give me, break it apart, 10 times 9 plus 7 times 9. I know 10 times 9, that makes 90, plus 7 times 9, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 63. And then I'm going to add these, 90 and 63. I know that's 3, 9 plus 6, that's 15. 153 is my answer. As I said, we're going to be working and reviewing distributive property throughout our fluency this week, and then we will have an entire lesson on using the distributive property with area models later this week, so it's important that we get the practice in now. Now let's go ahead and jump into our mini lesson for today, and as always, I like to pull our camera closer to the word problems so that you guys can see them better. So we have multiplication word problems, and what I want us to remember is this year we have learned so many different strategies for modeling multiplication and division. We've done equal groups, we've done arrays, we've done skip counting, we've done number bonds, we have done area models, tons of different strategies. So when you guys move on to 4th grade and you're getting to some different problems, always keep in mind some of those strategies that we've learned because they can help you even as the factors get bigger. So with that said, let's look at number 1 and we can discuss some strategies we can use. A movie ticket costs $8. If Miss Smith buys 3 tickets and Miss Love buys 4 tickets, how much money did they spend? Well, I see a lot of information in this problem. First, I see that each ticket costs $8. But I also see that there's Miss Smith buying tickets and Miss Love buying tickets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do an S for me, for Miss Smith, and an L for Love for Miss Love. Now, I bought 3 tickets, which basically gives me 3 groups. And Miss Love bought 4 tickets. I'm going to go ahead and circle these numbers too so I know I use them. So that's going to give her 4 groups. And I know the size of each of my groups is 8. Now there's a couple of different ways I could do this. I could keep it as a 2-step word problem and I could see that I have 3 groups of 8, which gives me 8, 16, 24. And Miss Love has 4 groups of 8, which gives me 8, 16, 24, 32. And then what would I do with these 2 parts? Hopefully you're thinking add them together. 32 plus 24, that's 6, 56. So they spent $56. And notice how I added the money sign in front because I want to make sure I label my unit. It was dollars. Now, if I didn't want to keep them separate though, I could just put my whole model together and count by 8s 7 times because now there's 7 groups. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, and I still get 56. So the strategy I used for this problem was I did equal groups and I did a little bit of skip counting. Now over here, I'm going to try and do a different strategy so we can review. It says balloons are sold in bags of 8. If Jameer, oh hi Jameer, buys 5 bags, how many balloons will he get? I know we mentioned doing number bonds earlier, and I love using number bonds to model multiplication because I think it's a good way to really organize them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and make my whole. And I know that Jameer bought 5 bags. That tells me right away that's 5 groups. So I'm going to draw 5 groups. And in each bag, how many balloons are there? 8. And then what could be my multiplication sentence to represent this problem? I see 5 groups of 8, which gives me 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. And then some of you at home may be saying, but Miss Smith, you could also say 8 times 5. And I know that I could do both because what property is this? That tells me it doesn't matter the order of my factors, I will still get the same answer. Hopefully you're thinking the commutative property. So let's write our sentence. Jameer will get 40 balloons. Just like that. So with this in mind, your classwork is going to be very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that way you guys can get a look at it. So it's just 3 word problems today. So at home, you can go ahead and write 1, 2, and 3. You're going to read the word problem and you can decide which strategy you would like to do, but I do need to see work. So whether that means you drew equal groups, whether that means you draw a number bond, whether that means you show me your skip counting, whether that means you draw a model, anything like that, but I do want to see your work. Also, each one says to write an equation and solve for n. So up here, when I was solving for n, I could have done something like 7 times 8 equals n equals 56. Over here, it would have been 5 times 8 equals n equals 40. On my examples, I went ahead and just solved for it, and I didn't use an unknown, but your classwork today does ask you to plug in the letter for the part we're trying to find. Be sure to post your work when you're finished. I can't wait to see what you guys do, and I will see everybody tomorrow. As always, call, text, email if you have any questions. Bye.